Right then, here it is, the Moto Guzzi V100 Mandello, 1000cc, 115 horsepower. There you go. The reason I'm looking at this bike is because I love V engines. As you know, I've got the CX650 Turbo, the V4 VFR 750 and the V4 Pan-European. I like the look of these Moto Guzzis. I've had 2 or 3 miles on it so far, so I'll give you my very initial impressions and then I'm going to take it for another run and I'll give you a longer term impression of it. Firstly, you cannot expect it to be as silky smooth as a Japanese 4-cylinder. But personally, I think it feels like the tickover is a little bit too high. So let's start her up. And it does that lovely little rock when you start it up. So the very first thing I notice is this ride-by-wire throttle feels a bit vague to me. It just doesn't seem to be as instant as I'd like it to be. It is in road mode, maybe it will smarten up a little bit in sport. Let's have a quick look. Ooh, little flaps came out then. Yeah, that just feels a little bit more responsive. So I'm going to leave it in sport mode just for now. Also, it seems like the tickover is a little high. The reason I'm saying this is because when I go to put it into gear, it's quite an almighty clunk. It really is quite a bad bang. I mean, I've had Hondas and they can bang into gear, but wow, this one bangs. And some people have mentioned the gearbox on it is quite agricultural, which I would agree with actually. These flashing lights should go off whilst I'm riding, by the way, when I first pull away and they do the checks. So let's go for a little play. And then once I've told you my initial findings, we can come back to it, can't we? So preload for second gear. It's not too bad, you've got to take the revs a little bit higher. But the gearbox doesn't feel too bad actually. It has cruise control. That's something I was looking for on these bikes. Something else that I'm starting to suffer with is numbness in my right hand. So I want to see what it's like after a bit on my hand too. On, off, on, off. Okay. 15-minute pit stop. That light was really bugging me. Let's just see if we can show it you. Because it's bright green, it catches my eye. That there, look. That's basically telling you that that little bottom light is on, and it just kept drawing my attention. So by doing that, that means that the headlight and the little angel light is on as well, and that's gone off. Yay. The other problem with the lights is when you go to set that, if you haven't activated cruise, it'll stay on when you're riding. That's what happens all the time, and it's annoying. So if you can't turn it off in the menus, and I was to buy a bike like this, I'd probably cut out a 1 centimetre square of insulation tape and I'd stick it over that bloody flashing thing there. But if you turn the cruise completely off, it goes. Okay, Dash moaned about. Next thing, this indicator when you're riding, it seems to be really low down, so you're pushing it up and in. It's really weird. It's facing downwards. I don't know whether you can move the switch gear around or what, I don't know. But I'd like that ideally to be a little bit further up. But it's only a minor thing. It's something that you'll just get used to. Vibrations. It's a V-twin. I'm going to keep saying that. You don't expect a V-twin to be turbine smooth. You can feel the vibrations through the bars, you can feel the vibrations through the brakes, the clutch and the foot pegs. But the vibrations aren't that bad. In fact, at this moment, they're actually quite nice. But it's like if you've gone out with a girlfriend or a boyfriend who's got a really cute little twitch when they smile or something. I'm not sure whether after a couple of months it would start to become annoying. And then you dump them. It's really nice. The throttle does feel quite vague in road mode because it's a ride-by-wire. It's not doing what you want it to do. It's hard to explain. I'm used to almost immediate response, but when you put it in sport mode, that response does pick up. Do remember though, I'm really picky. In-town fueling is actually quite nice on this. Oh, it's like somebody's broken the seat there, look. I hope they don't blame me for that. The fueling's quite smooth. The tickover, if I had my way, I'd knock it down a couple hundred revs. I'm not sure whether that's contributing to the size of the bang when you put it into gear. And I don't know whether it's actually factory set to that particular rev range or what. I'm not sure. Let's go and have another play, and then we'll have stop number 2. Really does kick you in the back when you put that in first gear. The gearbox reminds me a little bit of my Phase 1000. I really loved that bike, but I found that the gearbox on it was very clunky. You wouldn't expect that from a Phase 1000, but I suppose you could excuse it from a Moto Guzzi. Slow speed's nice, the clutch feels nice, even though you can actually feel the clutch vibrating through your fingers. I think this is a wet clutch on this as well. Just gone to second after preloading, and there is a little bit of a clunk there. But is it something that you can live with? On one of the forums or pages, somebody was saying, oh, it's character. And then somebody else actually responded with, well, how many things could you put up with and call character before it starts to get annoying? I mean, second gear at 18 miles an hour going over bumpy roads. Oh, that's another thing. The suspension isn't actually as harsh and bad as some people have said. The slightly higher revs does help your emerging junctions because obviously it's pre-revving a little bit for you. So third gear at 25, hold the throttle steady, and I'm in road mode again. I've been switching between road and sport, but I think that vagueness on the throttle is livable. See that? That's lovely. The last twin I rode was the BMWs, the R1200 and the GS, and the fuel mapping on those at this speed wasn't very nice at all. But yeah, I could certainly live with that. Or you can feel, if the best way to describe it is you can feel the transmission lash a little bit on the shaft drive, where it's like taking up and then letting go and taking up and letting go. And I found that with the cruise control when you were going down a hill, it wasn't overly smooth. It was off and on and off and on. Let's activate this cruise, press and hold, and there it starts flashing at you. And then press it once more, and that means it's set. You know I always do a couple over. It allows for the negative speedo readings. You tap your brakes, either of them, to knock it off. Set the revs higher. Well, obviously we can't because of the car. like you saw on my last upload. If you can't see around the corner, you can't go around it. This is fun. Okay, off-roading ability. Now I'm seeing the flashing cruise control and I thought I'd left my indicator on, and this is exactly my point. That is actually getting to be quite annoying. 1 centimetre square of insulation tape on its way. But two ways of getting rid of that. You can either set your cruise control, there we go, and pull the clutch in. Revs went up slightly, but it disconnected the cruise control. Watch out for Edith. There you go. Right, third gear, cruise flashing. I thought I'd left my indicator on again. Over the manhole cover on purpose. Yeah, it is a little harsh on that suspension. Right, let's try fourth gear at 30 and hit cruise. So the annoying flashing's gone now, and that's holding quite nicely. If you hit cruise again, that's another way of cancelling it, and it goes back into flashy flash mode. Right, enough of the cruise already. I'll turn that off a minute. There we go. Right, I have no annoying lights on my dashboard now. Right. Got a really nice induction roar when you open it up. It's what you'd expect, I suppose, from a 1000cc V-twin like this. And I'm feeling those vibes through the foot pegs, but they're not intrusive. Riding wise, position, beautiful. It's got a really nice seat, it's not overly harsh, and the little triangle between your bum, your feet and your hands is actually really nice. I'm only 5 feet 8, remember, and this is the standard seat, and it's okay for me, but I wouldn't complain if they were to put the lower seat on as well. He's getting on my nerves, tailgating me. And he stopped at traffic. Ah. Ah. I'm gonna turn around. I'm gonna do a U-turn. Yeah, it's very, very easy to ride, this is. There's no lunging on the clutch. The brakes are nice, they do the job really well. Got a lot of feel to them. And the back is really nice at your slow stuff. It's not grabby and it's not vague. So well done on the brakes, people. That indicator button got the better of me again. Okay, let's get this screen up. He told me you press that button right once, bang, and then you go up or down. He told me you press that button right once, then you go up or down. There we go. The screen was already all the way up. So wind blast on this is actually not that bad. It's very smooth, so I'm quite pleased with the wind blast on it. This is stop number 2, and I am starting to get pins and needles in my fingers. So I'm now beginning to think it's not the bike, it's just me being old. Which is also why I like to have bikes with cruise control, because I'm not a mad racy rider around the streets. And once I get to the speed I want, I can just hit cruise, and this would have it, and it'd be perfect for me. But yeah, I think I need to sort myself out a little bit there. Ow. So the vibes are still not totally intrusive, and they do add to the character of the bike. If I did get one, and the jury is still out on this, it wouldn't be the red. It doesn't look very poppy to me, even in the sunshine. I actually really like the look of the white one, which is the standard model. Okay, I'm going to have my final ride, and we'll pull up at the shop, and I'll give you my conclusions. I think I just trapped a nut there. So do remember, people, on a single track road, your stopping distance, you should be able to stop in half the distance you can see to be clear, because if something's coming the other way, you'll be closing your gap a lot quicker. Hopefully they'll have their brains tuned into. There you go, a little lesson for you. Okay. So this is quite a harsh road, and the suspension's taking it quite nicely, so I'm pleasantly surprised on the suspension. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, that's fine. As you'll probably notice, I like to be in a slightly higher gear than most people are. I mean, I could be in first at 27, but I've just found this bike can take fourth on this occasion. I'm going to be changing down it in a second anyway. Yeah, there's another one, nice little rev match. Yeah. So third gear, 24 miles an hour, and the only off and on I'm feeling now, I think, is the shaft drive taking up the slack as opposed to the fuel injection. Back brake only. Yes. Very feelable. Right, second gear, pressure. Yeah, even when you're preloading, you feel that clunk into second. It's not a deal breaker. I find this though when I'm riding my CX650. Initially I'm like, what a tractor, but at the end of the journey I've actually grown to love it again, and I've got a feeling this is going to be one of those bikes. See, that really isn't a very nice road surface, and this suspension's taking it really well. Clutchless gear changes aren't that bad. You do feel a little bit of a hunch though when you change the gear, and I don't know again whether that's because the revs are taking a while to die down or not. The mirrors are really good, absolutely rock steady, and I can only just see my arms in them, so that's a very good design. It's quite a long shaft as well. Okay, there is something rattling in there, like there's some hard plastic that's blowing around. I'm pretty sure they could sort that out. I'd personally drop these handle levers a little bit more in line with my hands. The cruise, it's good because you can up and down in increments, that works well. These lights, let me just see now, if I turn them back on, if that annoying light comes on, or if it remembers my last setting. It remembers my last setting. That's good. I'd like a longer test ride on that. The more I got to know it, the more I liked it. But my VFR 750, for example, I feel like after 100 yards on that bike, I feel like I've owned it forever. I've got a feeling this one's going to be one of those that you need to get to know. I didn't notice those wings doing anything when they popped up, but I did notice that the air on this is very smooth all the way through. You get no horrible buffeting, which is a pleasant surprise. Well, that's basically it, the first view, or the first trial. Let me know what you think of it. I'll speak to you soon.